And it is time once again for another AEW Dynamite review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hi there. Hello, I'm Warren. And hope you're having a good week so far. It's Thursday. Who doesn't like a good Thursday? We talk about this a lot. We talk about on the history of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the live streams, or even on the on these little reviews. We talk a lot about the value that each day of the week has, right? And I think Thursday, universally acclaimed. I think the only days of the week that challenge the enjoyment people have for Thursdays are the weekend days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I would even go as far as to say that people like Thursdays more than Sundays. That's my general vibe when it comes to that. So I hope I can maintain that general vibe and make your Thursday better, or whatever day you're listening to this. Honestly, I'm not pretending that you're absolutely locked in and you're going to listen to this the minute it comes out. If you do, though, that's tremendous, and thank you very much. And I would even ask if you wouldn't mind leaving a like on this video and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or a 5-star rating on Spotify. It sort of all comes together. See, it's a credible, ingenious plan that I had here. It all comes together. See how it all comes together? Thursday vibes. Is that even a thing? I hope it's not a thing. Anyway, let's start talking about this Dynamite. Let's get into it. We're going to be talking about the February 11 edition of AEW Dynamite that happened in Cedar Park, Texas, at the HEB Center at Cedar Park. It happened yesterday. I'm recording this. Well, it happened yesterday. It was recorded on the 10th, on Tuesday this week. It was pre-taped because everyone's going to Australia. I don't know if you've heard, but everyone's heading to Australia. So I guess giving more time for travel and whatnot. Otherwise, this aired at the usual spot on Dynamite on the 11th, but the show itself was taped on the 10th, and today is the 12th. So, a full triumvirate of days surrounding AEW here for your enjoyment. Oh Lord, what am I talking about? 2,884 tickets were distributed according to WrestleTix. Now, this is not the final count. This is based off of, WrestleTix scraping information, his own data that he was able to accrue. There will likely be a final count. Hopefully this final count is closer to 3,000 than it is, that we actually hit the 3,000. That would be nice, because the last time that AEW came here was last year in February as well, practically a year ago. It was on Valentine's Day last year. So practically date for date. This is a pretty good comp. And they drew 3,246 for that occasion. So, if the final count proves to be closer to, it will go up. The final count will go up. How further up? Well, we'll see. But there you go. But regardless of how many people there were in the building, this Cedar Park crowd, Austin, right? Austin. I'm not quite sure what the geography of Texas is when it comes to the cities and the neighborhoods, the boroughs, the county. I don't know exactly. See, I'm a complete ignorant. I'm gonna have to catch up on that. I'm gonna have to figure it out. I'm gonna have to get a better understanding of how Texas works. But it's part of my plans to just keep myself well educated and well illuminated as to how things function in the world, which is an aspiration I think everyone should endeavor to do. Just get a better understanding of how things work. What was I trying to say? I sidetracked myself what was the point I was trying to make? It's that despite the amount of people that were in the building, this was another tremendous Texas crowd. Another super hot Texas crowd. At this point, Texas is AEW country. Never mind Chicago, never mind what AEW used to be elsewhere to other people. It's not that anymore. But in Texas, holy shit. If you could bottle these crowds Just like I said last week, if these crowds could follow AEW around like a Grateful Dead concert, it would be tremendous. But that's not exactly how it works. Or maybe it should work this way. Maybe it's something to look into. AEW, you get you get some mobile, some RVs, you get some recreational vehicles, a big convoy of recreational vehicles, to follow the production trucks around and whatnot. I'm not saying that it wouldn't work, but I'm not saying that it wouldn't work. Honestly, I don't know what I'm on today. I'm deeply apologetic. A good show. Another good show, another good Dynamite. I was saying last week how much I enjoyed the collisions a lot more than a lot of what Dynamite has been vibing or giving out or providing. And I feel like the show we got last night was much closer to what a collision feels like, and ultimately what AEW feels like. What did we get in the show last night? Well, we had, a bunch of good matches. Like, there was nothing that happened last night where you'd want to gouge your eyes out, that would make you want to do that would make you want to, throw your remote at the screen, or just, maybe something not as aggressive as those two suggestions, like turning the TV off or switching the channel or, whatever. I would say last night, all, 3-star plus matches. We had a really fun trios match. Go figure. AEW giving us a fun trios match, as if, that's like one of the hallmarks the company had for so many years. We always turn back to that, and it's like, oh, look, the trios matches are really super fun and awesome. We had some excellent squash matches to establish some stuff. Just good professional wrestling all around, which I think is a positive. Minimal bullshit, not swimming in sports entertainment stuff or interminable promo segments. We're just cutting to the chase here. We're having people beat each other up and wanting to beat each other up. Did this show make me more hype, more excited for Grand Slam? No, it did not. Most of the participants in major spots on Grand Slam Australia this weekend were not there. Tony Storm was not there. Buddy Matthews was not there. Kazuchika Okada was not there. Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, they were not there. Konosuke Takeshita, he was not there. Thank God they didn't. Thank God they left Takeshita like in Asia, right? Like, it's like, no, stay there. Don't fly back here to fly back out, because he's already there. He's done a little tour. Like, it would have been impossible, come to think of it. Like, it wouldn't even have been possible. Just as I'm talking about it, it would have been impossible, because the New Japan show, the New Beginning in Osaka, was on Tuesday. Like, there was no way he was going to make it, right? I'm still thinking Dynamite was on Wednesday, but no, Dynamite was on Tuesday. So it was just impossible for him to make it. So he's over there. Kyle Fletcher wasn't there. Maybe, they sent out Matthews and Fletcher and Storm to go out and do media. That, which is possible, and that's a good idea. Actually, Will, you could even send Will. You send out Kenny. There may not be the homegrown talent, but they're attractions. They're the names. They're the big stars. So I guess you want those hanging around. And I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying that they are doing that. I'm saying, well, this probably explains why they weren't on the show. Because no, like the Australia show wasn't really super hyped back up. It is what it is at this point. There's been so much discourse around it. And I don't want to relitigate that, because there's a level of it which is, it's a little too granular, and I feel a little weird to really dig into. But, my stance is that yes, from the get-go, they, meaning AEW, gave us the impression that this was going to be a pay-per-view show, that this was going to be a really big show and a big quality, big stadium, right? So it was going to be something big. And then it was downgraded. And so was the show's offering, I would say. I would assume that they truly had some bigger things planned. And I think that whoever purchased tickets to that has a reason, can have a legitimate gripe. I think it's okay if anyone bought one of the tickets off of the idea that this was going to be a stadium show, then that was going to be big and that was probably going to be on pay-per-view. I think there's a legitimate gripe to have there. And that's where I stand on it. And I think, ultimately the mixed messaging, the confusion, the idea that the moment that they started promoting the show being on Saturday night, and saying like, what was it? It was a start time of 7:30 p.m. or something like that. And everyone was like, wait, isn't it the NBA, All-Star weekend? Isn't that what they're doing? And yes, that's exactly what they were doing. So that's exactly what they were doing. So there was a lot of mixed messaging. It was very sloppy. It was very, very sloppy. Here's the thing, right? It's like, we like to compare oftentimes, how messaging works with AEW and WWE, right? And how WWE runs such a tighter ship and whatnot. And they do. And they do. And WWE is a much bigger company that has, sure, many more resources, but ultimately is a much bigger company. And because of the fact that they're a bigger company, you would have more opportunities for messaging to be screwed up or things not necessarily connecting with the people who have to communicate it. Like, their messaging, WWE is always really on point, and they are a huge company. Like, they're huge. AEW is not the size that of WWE. It's a smaller operation, a leaner crew of people directing the ship, right? This kind of messaging shouldn't happen. It's so strange. It's really, really strange that the confusion and the messaging around Grand Slam was so scattered, so all over the place, lack of clarity. It really does show that there's some true structural problems within the company, and that they are going to have to solve eventually. And it doesn't make sense for a company that size to be so scattered, especially being broadcast on a big cable network on primetime TV. This stuff shouldn't happen. There should be better messaging happening, right? Don't you think? That's essentially where I stand on it. I don't want to get into the minutia, but after I read everything, that's how I feel about it. And this was essentially the go-home show. And I feel like they built a whole bunch of stuff, but not much pertaining to Grand Slam. The Mercedes Harley stuff. Mariah May was on the show, but none of the big angles, none of the big matches were put forward here, really, outside of promo packages. So you'd be remiss in saying, wait, there wasn't much going on Grand Slam related here. There really wasn't. And it's both a good thing and a bad thing, if you ask me, because there's a lot of things that were established for the future for Revolution, which was really cool. Because don't forget, Revolution is coming up in 3 weeks? We need some matches for that too. So, it's a delicate balance. Don't get me wrong. It's a delicate balance that I understand. And I wouldn't necessarily want to be in Tony's shoes for this kind of stuff. But at the same time, he does it to himself in booking these shows, these big shows with very little headway or time to breathe between the two to build them up properly. Like, technically speaking, we've been building for Grand Slam since January, since we came back from Christmas vacation after World's End. This is all that Tony has really had to build, and we're going to have a proper, isn't that it? Like 3 weeks for Revolution, now that Grand Slam's going to be out of the way. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out, but I do want to talk about the show. So the show starts with a cold open of a bunch of wrestlers, just like one after the other, being featured on TV and, just standing there doing things, like you have but doing things like poses, right? Like, just like, hey, the camera's on you, do something kind of thing. So, you have the Hurt Business and they're warming up. You have the Guns who are, doing gun things. You have Megan Bayne who, who's creaking her neck, one of these. Like, it's like, and there's audio, like there's music, but there's nothing else. There's no commentary. I'm like, okay, what is this? This is weird. And is it, you would expect like Excalibur to be going, tonight on Dynamite, the Hurt Business is going to take it on the Guns. The Guns have, and then you see the Guns, right? Well, you see the Hurt Business taking on the Hurt Business, the new AEW World Champions, and then you see the Hurt Business warming up. They'll be taking on the Guns, and then you cut to the Guns, and the Guns are looking to reclaim their tag team championships, and also Megan Bayne will have her first match on Dynamite, and then she's doing one of these, and you're like, what are we doing? Like, this is so weird, right? Did they record the audio for this and forgot to add it to the intro? And how did this happen? This show is taped. It's not even a question of, someone forgot to flip a switch, No. Like, this show is taped. How could they release this on a taped show if you're supposed to have commentary talking over it? Blows my mind sometimes. Anyway, once all that gets out of the way, Max Caster hits the ring. He's talking about his trademark, and basically he says that he's run off the Acclaimed or something to that effect. He's basically saying, Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn are gone. They're out of the company, and all that's left is me, and I was always the Acclaimed. I was the true mastermind or whatever the fuck. And it's his open challenge again. I gotta say, and we have to be honest with each other here, okay? I don't like Max Caster. I don't think there's a fair chance that a lot of you don't like Max Caster either. If we just follow trends, and how, fan reaction online, there's a lot of people who really don't like Max Caster. And Max Caster makes it really easy to dislike, right? It makes it really easy for people to dislike him. I gotta say, this plan of his to lean into the fact that no one likes him and to play the heel and poke the bear, calling himself the greatest wrestler alive, and do the open challenge, an open challenge which clearly is designed for him to just eat shit, to get his comeuppance week after week, to be sitting there going, oh, I'm the greatest wrestler alive, but then never win his open challenge, I think is a good bit. I think it's a great bit. What do you want from me? I can't stand a guy for multiple reasons, but he's leaning into it and it works. And it's a really good bit. So I don't have an issue with Max Caster going around calling himself the greatest wrestler alive if what he's going to do is just be a curtain jerker, an entry level wrestler who's there to to eat shit and lose to the stars, lose to the big guys. And because basically his character is punching above his weight. And everyone sees it. Everyone understands it. Nobody considers Max Caster to even remotely be the greatest wrestler. Like that's something that it crosses no one's mind, right? No one thinks that. And that's what makes this a good bit. It works. It works. He gets heat, and then Hangman comes out, beats the living shit out of him in a squash match, and every what are you done? How do you feel after the match? You feel good. You feel good because Max Caster, little punk ass bitch, that got his ass handed to him. And then what does he do after the match? He stands up. Caster does. He stands up and he raises his arms as if he won. Like, I'm sorry, it's a really, really good bit. That's all there is to it. Anyway, good squash by the Hangman, who I don't have an issue with this. You bring it in the Hangman, you have him beat up dudes, so that you and beat up heels. It's clear what we're doing here, right? I don't have to spell it out. So for him to come in and squash a guy, continue to establish himself, I think this works. I think it makes a lot of sense, and this will not be the last we see of Hangman Adam Page, and we'll get to that in a little bit. We get a promo video for the Strickland Ricochet feud. Ricochet talks about moving on to bigger, better things, while Strickland can't let go. I like this, and I like this little twist here. Prince Nana, cuts Strickland off when he starts cutting his promo and says, "Boss," and I love it. I love what he calls him, boss, right? I fucking love. Yeah. He goes, "Boss, why does everything have to be personal with you? Can't we just focus on getting the world title back, right?" And I'm sitting there and I'm slapping my leg and I'm doing one of these. I'm like, "Yes, Nana, yes. You're the manager, right? You're the manager. So you make money. The more money your guy makes, the more money you make, right? So if your guy is running after championships and becoming the world champion, technically speaking, he's making more money. So you should be making more money as well. So of course you want him to focus on the big fish instead of the small fries, right?" So I'm like, yes, this fucking rules. It makes so much sense and was such a nice twist, But Strickland's like, "Nah, brother, I gotta settle this. I gotta get this out of the way." This little punk Ricochet, and Ricochet, I'm sorry, again, sorry to say, he's been tremendous, and this new role that they found for him with the robe and everything, it's just been tremendous, and he is having a great time doing it. Like, this is something he has been looking to do. He's been meaning to do. You can feel it. You can feel it that he's been given an opportunity here that he never got in the other place, because Vince always saw him as a small guy who couldn't talk. Now they're giving him just a little gas, and Ricochet is actually one of the more interesting personalities that they have on the show right now. So, a geek, like this overcompensating geek, and he's fantastic. It's been tremendous. The win against Strickland last week was just perfect, and his reaction since has been excellent. And this little segment was great, but I can't put over enough Nana's reaction. I thought it was tremendous, and it was like, we need to move on. Strickland's like, "No, I got to settle this." And it adds so much to the character of Swerve. And it wasn't done in a way where, they're sowing the seeds of dissent. Prince Nana is about to turn on Swerve. It wasn't one of these where, Strickland walks away and then Nana is sort of like, giving him the evil eyes. He walks away. One of those. You know what I'm talking about. When we're not doing that, it's just like, no, we're having we're friends, allies, co-workers were having a business discussion. And it's like, well, we don't quite agree here. All right, well, And ultimately, Nana goes, shrug, you're my meal ticket. You want to do this? That's fine. I thought this, like, just a short little thing, but it added so much. This was very good. Then we had the AEW World Trios title match where the Death Riders finally defended their title after winning them was it Wembley last year? Something like that. Haven't they had this title for 6 months or something? Anyway, we're talking about Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta. They defeated the Undisputed Kingdom trio of Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett are officially kicked out of the group, right? It's like Cole was like, my two real best friends are back. You guys can hit the bricks. Just weird. They really should have turned on him. They really should have, you remember, we all thought that the Undisputed Kingdom was going to turn on Adam Cole at, what was the pay-per-view? Well, the one with the match with MJF. Was it Full Gear? I think so. Or was it Wrestle Dream? It was either or, right? It was one of those two. And I don't quite remember. And everyone thought that the Undisputed dudes, that Taven and Bennett were going to turn on Adam Cole, wrong one. They were going to turn on Adam Cole, and it didn't happen. And then they continued backing up Adam Cole, and then Kyle O'Reilly, and then there was the whole thing with Kyle O'Reilly and look, when Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong came back, and they were all in the ring together, and it was like, wow, this is a big group. But then after that, they just divested themselves of Bennett and Taven, who haven't been on AEW TV, I believe, since that time. Or if they have, it's been very, very brief. And definitely not part of these angles here. They haven't been around. They haven't been on TV. They haven't been cutting promos. They haven't been hanging out in the background with these guys. It's all been back to Cole, Strong, O'Reilly. So I think I would have preferred them to turn on Adam Cole, at least give us a reason for them to suddenly disappear from the group, as opposed to just disappearing from the group. You know what I mean? Which is kind of weird. It's really weird, actually. But the match itself, tremendous. This was so much fun. A fun trios match on AEW television is a hallmark of this company. You can talk about any types of traditions. You can talk about any, whatever you want in regards to AEW. One of the surest values that AEW had for the longest time was great multi-man matches. And I'll harp on this again. I'm a broken record, but I'm going to say it again. During this time where they were having great trios matches all across the board, sometimes even 2 per Dynamite, where you're like, this is all great. People were clamoring. They were saying, Tony, it's time for some trios titles. Get some trios titles in here. And then when they finally do bring the trios titles in, outside of the initial feud between the Elite and the Death Triangle, it's been nothing. The titles have meant jack. And they're sort of buried away. They're never defended. They're super protected for some reason. Which, again, should just be titles. These titles should be an excuse to just have high-flying, high-energy spot fest matches every week on Dynamite. They should be defended every fucking week, and they should be changing hands every month or every 3 weeks or whenever the fuck. And you should be showcasing your luchadors in here, not just like squirreling this into this one group that is super protected. No, just let them go. The young guys, what are you doing with Top Flight these days? What are you doing with Andretti and Leo Rush and all of these guys who know how to work this style of match? Just let them go, and then you can throw in throw in some bigger dudes into the lot. You can have the fucking Hounds of Hell. You throw in a third dude. They partner up with, I don't know, someone else. How about that for some booking? Let me book your show. Book them with someone else. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? It's just like this should be these titles should be defended every week is what I'm trying to say. And it should always be these high octane, high energy openers. Open your shows with this. And it's tremendous. There was a time that AEW would do that. Not anymore. But I really liked this match. It was a lot of fun. It truly was a lot of fun. And but Wheeler Utah low blows, I believe, Kyle O'Reilly while the referee is distracted because there was a lot of attempts at cheating, but they didn't quite work out the way that it was expected. And Wheeler Utah ended up low blowing Kyle O'Reilly and rolling him up for the win. So the Death Riders retain. We're back to square one. After the match, the Death Riders put the boots to Cole and Company, which then drags out Daniel Garcia in 2.0 to make the save. And I don't know what to tell you about Daniel Garcia hanging around 2.0. Like, no disrespect, but that's a bit of a downgrade. And, a lot of people saw a lot of things when he came out, when he won the TNT title, and people were excited about it. And this is what he's doing now. He's not defending his title. He's running around in a trios with two guys who are really under him, are truly under him. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what we're doing with Dan Garcia. And a guy who gets good reactions. These crowds, they love the Daniel Garcia. I love the Daniel Garcia. But it's also, I feel it's also symptomatic of a problem that AEW has had for a very, very long time. And that problem is that the follow-ups to the big wins are often often aren't good. Don't live up to the expectations. Don't live up to what a good follow-up should be. And I think this is the case with Daniel Garcia. I really do. Marina Shafir and Jon Moxley are backstage. They're having a stroll, and they get ambushed by Adam Copeland and Jay White, who ambushed them both, and they lock Shafir in a room, and they're able to use some bolt cutters to snap the briefcase off of Shafir's wrist. And the briefcase that contains, or at least we believe contains, the AEW World Championship, and they make off with it. And Jon Moxley comes to after he was pelted with chair shots, and he comes to and he is mad, and he starts looking for Cope and Switch. Don't ever make that a real thing. Renee Paquette is backstage. She's interviewing MJF, who puts down Dustin Rhodes, puts down Texas, and that allows and from there Adam Page shows up, and he tells him to hit the bricks. It's my interview time here, and they have another tense face-to-face, where MJF makes fun of his cologne, calling it like Jack Daniels, and Page goes, "It's been 5 years. That's the best you got?" I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it's one thing to address it on TV, that Max's material might be a little redundant, but what are we actually going to follow up here? Are we actually going to do something about it, right? Are we actually going to change something regarding Max's stuff? So, but I like it. Basically, MJF says, he tells Hangman, he says, whatever this is, Hangman, you don't have the stomach for it. It's like, all right, we'll just leave it at that for now. And he, of course, Max is angry that the people support Adam Page, again, calling into the insecurities and whatnot. And then MJF walks off, getting ready for his match, while Adam Page is just left standing there. Good little segment again. This would not be the end of what we're going to see out of these two guys on this show. Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Hook defeated Aaron Solo, John Cruz, and Rosario Grillo. It's a squash. What do you want from me? It's good. It's these guys coming in and beating the shit out of jobbers. I'm completely okay with this. This is good. Like this, I will take this kind of storytelling over any other convoluted, over the top, overwrought story that you could provide me. Like, and especially for these three guys who are just supposed to be like three thugs, three bums, you know, that are just ready to beat the hell out of anyone. I'm all for it. Samoa Joe cuts a promo after, refers to the group as the Ops. The Hops? No. The Ox? No, not like Dr. Octopus. No. I don't know. The Ops. I'm not sure that's the greatest name, but alrighty. And he basically calls the other guys brothers in violence or whatever, and then challenges the patriarchy to a match next week, calling Christian a chicken ass coward, which gets the crowd chanting chicken ass until Samoa Joe clucks. That's right. Samoa Joe, the Samoa Joe, yeah, that guy looked straight into the hard cam in the middle of that ring and clucked. Then we get the whole Chris Jericho Bandito thing where Renee Paquette is backstage with, well, it's intercut, but we'll do it all in one segment here. Renee Paquette is with Chris Jericho backstage. Brian Keith is also there. And, they're there to collect the bounty on Bandito. And I'm like, who put the bounty on Bandito? Like, this is just the kind of stuff that annoys me because, like, I want to tell everyone this isn't real. The bounty stuff started in a pre-tape segment. This is just like creative doing a thing. I don't think there's a real bounty on Bandito. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's a real one. But everyone is acting like there's a real one, and that's strange because why aren't more pro wrestlers going after Bandito then if there's $100,000 on his head? Like, wouldn't they, and what, is it just to pin him? Is that the idea? Like, why isn't everyone in the company lining up to beat him? Again, it's just these, like, it worked in the context of the vignettes. You understood what they were doing, but then they brought it into canon. They brought it into the kayfabe of the show, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't connect, and I can only suspend my disbelief to a certain degree. And if there's a guy running around where you only have to pin to get $100,000, well, go do it. So basically Jericho challenges Bandito to a showdown, and everyone's like, what the hell? What does this mean? What is a showdown? And a little later after that, Chris Jericho gets into the ring for his showdown, and Bandito comes out for the showdown, and they meet face to face in the ring, and then they have a spotlight appear just on both of them, and then they turn and do the 10 steps and like a duel, right? Like a Far West duel. They turn their backs and they walk away from each other, whatever, to the corner, and then they turn, and I guess they're supposed to pull a move or something. And I'm like, wait, didn't Brian Keith just do this with Bandito? And also when he did it, it was so much cooler. I'm like, Chris Jericho saw the thing on Collision and it was like, hey, I want to do that too. That's pretty cool. But the way Bandito and Keith did it, which was organic within the match, was actually cool. And then they ran at each other and they both kneed each other in the face, kind of thing, right? Now it's just like, all right, what is this? We're doing this again, and with Chris Jericho, and ultimately they don't do anything because Brian Keith trips up Bandito, who falls on his face, and then they beat up on him. Then the Outrunners come out, and then Big Bill comes out, and then Powerhouse Hobbs comes out, And that's truly where this segment culminated. Right now, Hobbs he feels like he's got some good momentum behind him. He comes out now and people are excited, people are stoked, and this little mid-card feud that he has with Big Bill has been so much fun. It's really been a ton of fun. And he lands a spine buster on Big Bill, saving Bandito from a choke slam. Bandito is very grateful for him afterwards. Just tremendous stuff, honestly. Just really, really tremendous stuff. I liked it. I like this. I like the whole setup here. I like the post-match angle, the whole showdown gimmick. I don't know. Like I said, we saw it on Collision and it was better done. It was I don't know. Look, this works for Hobbs and Bill. And the one criticism is that it I feel like Bandito became a secondary player in all of this because of the focus switch to Hobbs. Probably, maybe what should have happened was, Hobbs slams Big Bill, and then Brian Keith runs in to sort of try and take out Hobbs with a chair or something, and Bandito interrupts him, and Bandito does a cool move on Keith, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is cool. But now it just feels like Bandito was rescued. There was nothing he could do, and he kind of looks like, a little bro in this situation. Anyway, I still like the post, the angle post angle, the angles post angle. We're doing post angles now. We're back to Cope and Jay White, who cut a promo on Jon Moxley, they've how they have the world championship and whatnot, and White is always great. And Copeland, for some reason, he has the championship in briefcase, right? And he's holding it, and he's like, he tells to Jay White, I've held a few of these in my time, right? And I'm like, Jay White has too. Jay White is a world champion multiple times. Okay. That's what Jay White should have said. He said, hey, me too, brother. It's like, we're both world champions. Who cares, right? Anyway, so, basically he's threatening to open up the briefcase. We'll come back to that. So Renee Paquette has a short pre-match interview with Dustin Rhodes, who gets everyone excited for the match. And that leads us to MJF defeating Dustin Rhodes via referee's decision. And I really liked this. I thought this was a good, solid professional wrestling match. Strongly worked, smartly put together, working to each other's strengths. There was, everything was good, felt natural, felt crisp. MJF at some point even, he tries to go overboard and Pillmanize the arm, but the ref pulls the chair away. He doesn't want anything to do with that. Dustin lands the Shattered Dreams to great reactions from the crowd. The Austin, Texas local crowd was super into Dustin, and they were super not into MJF beating Dustin, but that's nonetheless what happened. MJF locks in the Salt of the Earth. Dustin tries to reach the ropes. MJF sees it coming and then reverses into a crossface, which causes Dustin to pass out in a tremendous finish that worked really well. Max won, clean as a sheet. No real shenanigans, no low blows, no Dynamite Diamond rings. And I think these matches are important for Max. I understand he's not afraid to take a shortcut, but there are moments where he shouldn't have to take a shortcut. And considering that he is a top guy in this company and Dustin Rhodes is not, no disrespect, that's just calling it as it is, there is MJF shouldn't have to resort to underhanded tactics using international objects to get the job done. He should be able to just And he did, but he should be able to put guys like Dustin Rhodes away, even if it's a competitive match, it's well fought. He should be able to just win without any nonsense. And I'm glad he did. And I think that's a good step forward in his feud with Adam Page that has clearly been kicked off now. And it also shows, look, I know a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm on an island with how much I like MJF. And I know, like I've said before, like I feel like I have a pretty high tolerance to a lot of his nonsense. But ultimately, MJF delivers when MJF delivers in match quality. He just does. You know, I saw people calling him overrated. I disagree. I don't think. I think calling MJF overrated is letting your feelings get in the way of how you perceive him. But MJF is not an overrated wrestler in any way, shape, or form. This guy has it all, and he can do the great match, just like he can do shtick. He is extremely complete. He still has some flaws in his presentation, but to call him overrated is letting your feelings get in the way, ultimately. Anyway, enough about that. I want to talk about this fantastic post-match angle, like a truly fantastic post-match angle, where after the match, MJF goes back after Dustin, locks in the salt of the earth again, which drags out Adam Page. They stand up nose to nose, like they're literally touching tips. And MJF starts to walk away, but then spears Hangman, and they go at it instantly. Officials, security are out there. There's like a dozen guys trying to keep them apart, and they have a pull-apart brawl. And the guys break through the security barriers, and they fight. They go after each other. They fight into the crowd, up at the top of an entrance, and MJF threatens to throw Page over, but finally, the security get him back in control, and they drag Hangman backstage, kicking and screaming. MJF goes back to the ring, and he picks up the microphone, and he calls Hangman a gutless coward, just like everyone in the crowd. And he's such a gutless coward that he will not come back out here, kind of thing. And I'm like, ugh, wouldn't it be great if Hangman came out? And Hangman comes back out. Hangman just rushes from the tunnels. He like broke away from security backstage, and he just beelines for Max again. And they go at it. They go at it again for some more brawling. This was cool as hell, and I'm excited for this. They have done such a tremendous job building this feud, just letting it simmer for weeks now. At first, it was like they just crossed each other's paths, and you're like, okay, they set the stage for something down the line, but not all far down the line. MJF had to deal with the Jeff Jarrett nonsense. We pivoted to the Dustin Rhodes stuff, which is great, by the way. It was a great idea to have MJF have this little feud into the lead up to the real meat, which was the Hangman Page feud. And I'm legitimately excited about this. This will likely be a match at Revolution, and it's already one that I'm excited to see. I'm excited that MJF is going to be back in a mix, fighting some top guys. I'm glad that Hangman is slowly reverting back to being a babyface in this whole situation, and he's going to be in a more prominent position. And this is a match that is going to be really exciting. That I don't think the winner is as clear cut as you might think. We'll talk about it down the road, but this has been good. Like, the build to this feud has been tremendous, and the angle from last night's show just solidified how good and exciting this match has the potential to be. So I'm very good with what we're doing right now. Megan Bayne comes to the ring. She's fighting Maya World, who is a local talent. She gets squashed. Megan Bayne starts walking back up the ramp. Kris Statlander's music hits to the delight of many, because I think this is a match that everyone had in their brain just popped into their mind the minute that Megan Bayne showed up in AEW again. It was like, oh, she's got to fight Statlander now. We have to go after the big power women. Let's go. Like, this is the one, right? And, so Statlander walks past her. They stare each other down, but Statlander goes and has her match where she defeated Penelope Ford in a great showing for Statlander, who looked in control, confident, strong, comfortable, confident. I said confident, but you go back and watch original Kris Statlander alien boop stuff from when AEW started, before before she was injured out with her knees. And you look at her now, and it's two completely different women. There's one that's clearly like trying to find her sea legs, being on national TV and whatnot. And then you have this one here who is just completely in control, like ultimately completely in control. And what a great fight. Like, this was a great fight. It was a good fight. Calm your tits, Warren. This was a really, really good fight. I was impressed with how good it was. This is probably Penelope Ford's best match in AEW ever, I would say. And again, like, I'm not trying to oversell it, because you can tell there's still some stuff that was a little soft, a little slow, but there's Statlander made up for a lot of the problems in Ford's offense. She was able to do a lot of really good things here. It was well done. I enjoyed it. Like, it's a solid 3-star match, if you ask me. And then after the match, Megan Bayne pops back out, and then Penelope Ford attacks Kris Statlander, which allows Megan Bayne to F5 her. Because, yes, that's Megan Bayne's finishing move. The second time in a row anyway, that Penelope Ford gets involved in a Megan Bayne match to help Megan Bayne in some way, and it looks indirect, but clearly they're teasing a team up here in this circumstance. I forgot to go back a little bit. We skipped the segment, and when I say we, I mean I. When we were putting the Chris Jericho stuff together, there was a segment where Renee Paquette was interviewing Willow Nightingale, about to talk about her excursion into Japan that's coming up, that she's going to go wrestle in TJPW, but Marina Shafir punks her out, chokes her out, and I'm like, that's good, because we're continuing to set the stage for Willow versus Marina Shafir. I thought they had left that behind. Marina got speared or taken down by Willow at the World's End pay-per-view, to a huge reaction from the crowd on top of that. But they really hadn't revisited that since. So now they're just bringing that back. So again, we've got something simmering here. That'll be interesting to see where we go with. But now back to the show in its proper order. Harley Cameron has a music video. Kind of has me cringe. She's rapping. She seems to be very good at it. I am not the master of bars. I could not tell you if she's actually really good or if she's pulling an Iggy Azalea kind of thing. I couldn't tell you. But what I did find interesting here is that at some point she was like, stop the music, cut it all. And she cut a very down-to-earth promo where she's basically saying, that, I can do a lot of things. You called me a loser, Mercedes, because I've just started wrestling and I'm still learning. But, I had to, at some point in my life, I didn't know how to play guitar. I didn't know how to sing. I didn't know how to throw my voice. I didn't know Chinese. And then she speaks Chinese. So I will learn how to wrestle and so on and so forth. And that was such a down-to-earth, fantastic promo, or at least segment, that was missing a little bit from Harley. Harley is so over the top, and a complete vibe in and about herself, energetic and so explosive in what she does that, the over-the-top aspects can probably wear thin at some point. And for her to do this, to just like bring everything, like, okay, we're going to talk one-on-one, no wacky Harley here, I'm just speaking from the heart, that was really nice. And I think it's something we can see more of her in certain key moments. It reminds us that she's not a character. She's also a person that has a character that she portrays on television or portrays in these circumstances, but that she's very much a human nonetheless. Now, I legitimately think that Harley Cameron is probably the most all-around talented person in pro wrestling today. She has that natural showmanship that some wrestlers would crave to have just an eighth of. She just like bursts out of it and she does everything. And she does it well. This is the thing. She does it so extremely well. It's not a little tongue-in-cheek thing. Oh, look, I'm going to sing a song. And then, the song is kind of shit and the guitar work is kind of crap, No, like she's actually really good at it, super talented, and she's funny. And not pro wrestling funny. She's funny. Comedy in pro wrestling is always a topic of discussion, right? And I think there is a place for comedy in pro wrestling, but comedy in pro wrestling is not always well done. And most of the time it is not. And it takes someone with some really good comedic timing and some really good comedic chops to pull it off. I think R-Truth is an example of someone who does comedy wrestling, does comedy bits really, really, really well. Like, I think because he's a naturally funny guy and he gets it. He understands it and he's perfected it. And I think it's the same with Harley. I think she's naturally funny, but she also understands how to deliver jokes and make things humorous. And it's funny because she has all of these incredible talents, but she's still green as grass when it comes to pro wrestling. And, it's not a put down. She has like 40 matches in her? Something like that. What is it, 40, 70, something like that. Like in her career, she's wrestled less than 100 matches. She's been at this for like 2 years. And she has so much to give. I continue to maintain that whether or not she becomes Akira Hokuto or not in the ring, if she can hit the working standard, I'm not talking like tear the house down, right? I'm talking the working standard for pro wrestling, particularly in AEW. This woman is going to be a huge star. And whenever her contract comes up, I'm Tony Khan. I am throwing everything at her so that she stays with me and does not go to WWE. This is a talent that I do not want to let go of because WWE are going to have a field day with her. I'd much rather have her with me and have her develop with me and have the payoff of her becoming a star with me. We're running a little long. Let's breeze through these last final segments here. The Hurt Syndicate defeated the Guns to retain the AEW World Tag Team titles. I liked the match. Thought it was fine. Good little match. Of course, the solid start and whatnot, and the Hurt Business are great because they come off as brutes and they look like brutes and they act like brutes because they throw guys around and they were tossing the Guns over the ramp and whatnot, and it's fine. It looks great and it's tremendous and it's a good show and the people, they love the Guns. And I think Austin Gunn has become very good in creating a connection with the crowd as well, and I think that's non-negligible. Anyway, Hurt Business win here with the Shelton Benjamin doing his thing and Bobby Lashley doing his thing, and just tremendous stuff. And then after the match, you have the Murder Machines come out just at the top of the entrance and clapping their hands. They're like, oh, all right. True, big, beefy men coming out for a fight. That's, I can get behind that. I can get behind this match. This is fun. It's a good one. And what can you say more about the Hurt Syndicate? They're super over. People love them. It's been good so far. Then we get the Mariah May promo where she cuts her final thoughts on Toni Storm, saying she should have died in August, and this is going to be a mercy killing. She's going to finish the job. Okie dokie. Adam Copeland and Jay White get to the ring. They talk about the AEW Championship being hidden in the briefcase. Copeland goes under the ring to pull out Spike, the big toothbrush, the big spiky toothbrush that he somehow carries around and, puts under the ring or whatnot. And that brings out the Death Riders, because basically he's saying, I'm going to open this briefcase, John, unless you give me a match. And Moxley comes out and begrudgingly gives them the match for Revolution. And Cope goes, okay, sweet. I'm still going to open up the briefcase. And he starts wailing on it with Spike. And then the Death Riders don't know how to approach this. They got to be tactical. Pac tries to interfere, but Cope sees him coming, and he's got the spike toothbrush in his hand and whatnot. So Pac and Moxley, they come after him. They sort of get the upper hand, but then Pac eats a spear, and Claudio comes in, and Jay White hits the Blade Runner on Claudio. And Moxley sort of challenges, he has Spike in his hands, and he's sort of like, I'm going to swing it at you, Jay. And Jay's like, come on, brother, you do it. And then Moxley eats a spear before we cut to black. And this was basically the go home for the Australia show, because it's the tag team thing, right? It was fine. It was good, like pretty good, as opposed to a lot of Death Rider stuff that has been happening or has happened. I mean, it's a lot of hit and miss, a lot of miss. But this was fine. This was good. Why do I have the feeling that Jay White is going to join the Death Riders? Why do I have that feeling? I can't shake it, where he's been challenging Mox and challenging Yuta, and maybe eventually Mox just goes, you know what, kid, you show a lot of moxie and you should be joining my group. And Jay White's like, hell yeah, I'm joining your group, kind of thing. I don't know. That's how I'm perceiving it. I don't know. It's just I can't shake the feeling. Like it's in the pit of my stomach. It doesn't quite make sense, but I can't shake that feeling. Plus it's Jay White. It's like you're not supposed to really trust Jay White either. Anyway, that's the show. That's AEW Dynamite. A good show, like I said, not great, nothing that, but solid pro wrestling, minimal bullshit, angles, stuff happening. Like I'm into it. I was into the show. I thought it was very good. And let's hope that we can continue this trend of really good Dynamites. That would also be tremendous. Anyway, I'm going to end it on that note. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. A like on the video, some reviews, some ratings would also be great. I will be back. If you're listening to this on Thursday, I will be back streaming tonight on the YouTube channel. Or otherwise, I'll be back next week for the Mr. Warren Hayes show if you consume this in any other way. Thank you all for joining me. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me. And I'll see you next time.